welcome. I'm also told that we have a new appointee as the hospital representative from Jones, which is not yet official, but will be once we get the letter. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad you're here. All right, so let's just kind of dive right in. We'll start off with the March minutes were actually sent out today. They were sent to all the members' email addresses. If you had a chance to review them, I would love someone to make a motion to approve or amend them.
Motion to approve Cosgrove.
All right, let's go with motion to approve with Dr. Shaw and Dr. Cosgrove as a second. Thank you. Any opposition? Hearing none, the meeting minutes are accepted. Thank you. So the correspondence log is attached, and that brings us right to the CMAC Sensical report. Dr. Walters, anything?
Yeah, let's give a quick few brief updates. Nothing too substantial except protocols, which we can talk about a little bit later on the agenda, but there was some discussion about some legislative proposals discussed, and the one that was, I believe, passed in the just passed the Senate and the Assembly in the state is the treatment in place and the treatment for alternate destinations, or TIP and TAD. So that should hopefully be signed into effect soon, which will help with some reimbursement in those areas. There was some discussion in systems about the definition of a CON and what that would mean. Try to set a standard for agencies applying for a CON going forward. Some of the things being discussed, it's all just a draft format now, but we're talking about if there's less than 20% or more than 20% of responses in that area are not being met consecutively for 3 months in a row, and then some other different metrics over perhaps a longer period. But those things are still being discussed. We'll probably have more to report out after the next meeting. From the Bureau side, they had a few updates. I think the big things are that they're updating the glucose and albuterol policy statements, which should be coming out. There are new CLI, CIC policies that are on the website, and I think a lot of the educational people have seen the hazmat guidance for the required hazmat training for EMTs. That policy is on the website as well. Otherwise, they've talked about for a while now. The state has approved, is going through the process of writing the position and the salary and hiring a state EMS medical director. So for any of the physicians in the room that would like that position, and sometime hopefully in the next year that will be available and posted. You fellows that would talk to you off the sacrifice. And then the last thing is just the new protocols, which I'll talk about later on the agenda. And I think that's it, unless Mickey or Todd are on or have any updates. I know there were some other educational things. I think probably just as a reminder, we talked last time at the meeting that the CMAC and Senate have voted to sunset the critical care, the CC level of care in 2027. So that gives a few years for providers to enroll, get advanced standing in a local paramedic class, or take the state's bridge option out of Norfolk. I think that's it.
Thank you. So the chairman's report is a short one. Number one, the bylaws have to have another revision done and need a reading before that, so that's going to be tabled until the September meeting, unfortunately. But I will email those out with plenty of time, because the alternative was to send them out today and ask you to vote, which is also silly. So I'll get them out with enough time to review them, and maybe we can start an actual year with new bylaws. As a reminder to all of the hospitals in the region that provide medical direction, right? The WREMAC is requiring that if you're going to provide medical direction in the region, you have to be recording all of those calls effective July 1st. So please, that deadline is coming up. If there's going to be any kind of obstacle to your facility doing that, please reach out to us sooner than later. Because if you don't agree or don't or can't or won't or whatever, record the calls and make them available to the QI committee, then you're not going to be able to participate and give medical direction in the region, and that would be a real shame. We need all of the help we can get. And then we'll talk about a couple other things when we get down to new business from me, but nothing else. So that brings us to trauma advisory, and I see Beth.
Hello, really no report. We have a meeting scheduled for July 10th. The invites have been sent out, so please join us if you got an invite.
Thank you. Nurse Advisory Committee, we do not have a representative, which brings us to Program agency reports, so we'll start with STEM.
Our report was included with the agenda, just a few things to highlight. The paramedic program for our region did conclude and the students are currently testing. We have had all 10 of the Olean students did pass, so we're excited about that, and the site people at the other sites are still in the process of testing. We are currently not planning, we are having our EMTB Academy that will start in the end of June, early July with 10 I would say younger individuals that we are looking forward to doing here. We have 10 students that are eager to get into the EMS system. We held a CIU with Sarah McCartan and Rob McCartan and Rodney from Niagara County. I'm sure Rob will touch on that. New York State EMSC program is urging everyone to complete the survey that they have. They had sent out an email to all agencies through their listserv. So if you didn't get it, you can go to emspedsready.org. So they're just asking if every agency can complete that. Then lastly, just the reminder that annual skills are due at the end of the month. And that is is there any questions for me? If not, that's the end of my report.
Thanks, Alicia. UBMD.
Like STEM's, our report was included in the minutes or the meeting agenda. A couple things I do want to touch on. Mike Shaw has departed our office and has gone on to work as the deputy coordinator of Wyoming EMS system. We want to wish him the best. We are going to be looking to fill that role in the future as we're working through that process currently. SUNY Niagara did host an instructor update course. We had about, I think 25 people, which was a good turnout. And I think overall was pretty successful. As far as the 800, Part 800 regulations pertaining to education regulations, those did finally get published. They are on the website under the 800 regulations. I did confirm that. So there were a variety of changes, moving to 4-year certifications, changing some of the verbiage, things like not having an examination, so not having a PSE examination, but an evaluation. This offers the state more flexibility on how that's going to be conducted in the future. Many other changes pertaining to the CME program, such as the definition of continuous practice and not having to actually be a part of an agency to participate in the CME program. So I guess the big key takeaway is being prepared for many different policies to come out on that, thereby clarifying many of the changes that are going to be moving forward. We want to also stress that skills are coming up. Credentialing is coming up to an end here in a couple of weeks. So please, for those agencies in our region, make sure that when you update the portal that you also submit the membership form, summary form that validates that you are completed. Other than that, I don't really have many other things. Oh, my apologies. One other thing, it came up last minute. Jason Toma from Cheektowaga Police Department is here. And they are actually seeking their PLSFR, in which case they need a recommendation letter from the patient. Okay, he's here in case you have a question.
Officer, do you have a medical director?
Yeah, so, to what Rob's point, the town is looking to do it, to move forward with the VLSFR. We will have a medical director in 2 weeks. It needs the town board's approval at the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. Some of the things that we're doing, we run a lot of AEDs, Narcan, those types of things. So one of the things is to be in compliance with that. And then, our EMS study is going to be released very soon. And one of the recommendations is a VLSFR. So if we move forward in doing that, supplementing some of the services that currently are provided by the volunteer service or the town we're looking to move forward to doing that, and obviously in order to do that, we need a recommendation from the REMAC in order to move forward with that. So that's kind of, we're not looking to do transport service, we're looking to do BLS, first response service with trained individuals that we have as far as town employees or within the police department.
Okay, who's the medical director here tonight?
It's gonna go through the Catholic health system.
Okay. So then I would, thank you very much.
Yep.
I would happily entertain a motion for anyone who wants to direct me to write a letter on behalf of the REMAC in support of the BLSR operating certificate for the town of Cheektowaga.
I'll make,
Dr. Walters, is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Any opposition? We will call that unanimous consent. I'll issue your letter in a day or two.
Thank you.
You no problem. Thank you for being here. All right, moving onward. Let's see, that brings us to subcommittee. So there is a collaborative protocol update. Dr. Walters?
yeah, real quick, before I talk about the protocols, I did miss one thing regarding some of the legislation that was discussed at the state meeting. Also, just passed the Senate and the Assembly of the State is a bill to allow ground ambulances to carry and administer blood products. So that was approved. It's still awaiting the governor's signature. It will then require the SEMSCO to develop standards and things before that can be implemented, but just so that, you know, that's something that is coming down the road. Regarding the collaborative protocols, there are some new updates to the protocols like we discussed here at the last meeting. Those take effect July 1st. There is some, a notice that will be coming out from the REMAC that has some links to not just the protocols, but also the change log that goes through all the details of what was changed to the BLS level and the ALS level. Those are available on the state website already that you can read. There's really not any substantial changes. There's a couple of new protocols. There's a lot of wordsmithing and edits that were done. And we voted last meeting that we would not require anything from the REMAC perspective for providers to do any required education or protocol update test or anything like that. The one question that I do have for the group, and then we can send out that notice back to O'Brien from the REMAC, is regarding some of the optional medications. In the protocol, it says that optional medications in the formulary may be used by agencies that are equipped and trained and may be subject to REMAC authorization. Some REMACs require notifications or an approval process for those optional medications. We traditionally have not. And so I guess the question is that something that we want to start doing? So I'll give you a couple of examples. I think that most of us would say that if you're looking to, you know, carry certain medications like maybe Haldol or IV Tylenol, acetaminophen, we probably don't need REMAC authorization. But do we want to require authorization for things like Suboxone when that starts coming down the line, IV antibiotics like cefazolin or moxifloxacin? IV nitroglycerin is an optional one in there. And then there's some other ones like nitrous oxide that have already been in the optional list for a while. So that's just kind of a discussion point. I don't really have a strong preference one way or the other, but something I think we need to come to consensus as a REMAC. Just because some of those are a little bit of higher risk, especially like IV nitroglycerin. Or we just leave it up to agency and medical director approval. And if we require REMAC approval, what's that going to be? Is it just notification or how do you want to handle it?
Dr. O'Brien?
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Clemens.
Can we ask Beth if she is aware, has the RTAC taken any stance on IV antibiotics for fractures in the protocol?
The RTAC is ostensibly sitting in the front row, so let's find out.
I don't know that they've formally taken a stance on it. I know that's a big project of ours, and it's just like sepsis protocols, we have to have the IV antibiotics for fractures within 20 minutes. So I think it would be supported, but I will have to take that back to them for the July 10th meeting.
Thank you.
Are
Are you looking for support? I mean, are you looking for a statement from them?
Well, I guess in other, I can't speak to New York State, but in other parts of the country, the debate is twofold. One is the trauma center is in support of it, trying to get antibiotics in sooner. And the con is some trauma centers say essentially, like, well, we're going to give the full dose of IV no matter what you do. So it won't change what we do either way. So it doesn't really have value added. So I think that's why we'd want, hopefully the RTAC would give us some guidance.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it back to them, because I'm sure they'll wanna get orthopedics.
I was gonna say, I feel like orthopedics is gonna feel strongly that we should do it if we could do it, but I would love to hear their opinion.
Yeah.
Formally, so.
I think
So I
the
think,
other, sorry, just on this discussion of antibiotics specifically, I think one of the questions that always comes up is, right, IV antibiotics and an open fracture certainly is good medicine. Does it make a clinical difference when it's given in a pre-hospital setting
Right.
in that time frame? And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know there are people doing it in other parts of the country. I believe NAEMSP with their, is gonna publish their trauma, kind of like they did with the airway compendium or something like that later this year. And I believe that's one of the items that they're looking at. I don't know if Dr. Clemency or somebody else in the room knows more about that or the evidence or where that stands, but just as we're looking at that, that might be something that might give us some more information and sway us over the next 6
Yeah.
months.
you know, the timing is interesting for a before and after analysis. If only we had some new fellows coming in to help us look at data. I think we could probably work out a project. But yeah, I think, you know, at this point, I would, before making a decision on, or even asking for an opinion on regional approval of antibiotics for open fractures, I think it's very reasonable to wait for the RMAC's opinions, that way they can touch base with orthopedics at ECMC. In terms of the other things, though, I do have some concerns about IV nitroglycerin and buprenorphine, once that is approved, since the protocol is ready. So any other thoughts on how a regional approval would work? I mean, because if it ends up being just a rubber stamp, then we might as well just call it a regional notification, which doesn't really have any oversight with it. You know, I think, I feel pretty strongly that we should look at least consider something like that for at least those two medications, if not antibiotics, depending on the RTEC's thoughts. Any other thoughts on it?
I think it'd be helpful to know who's doing it in terms of antibiotics, nitroglycerin, and Suboxone. In the case of Suboxone, I anticipate there being a ton of policy already coming down from the state for agencies doing Suboxone. So I don't think we have value added for adding policy on top of that. So I think the best thing would be notification, but not approval.
Other thoughts? Okay.
And so are we saying notification just for some of those optional things, such as Suboxone, IV nitroglycerin?
I think those three things would be helpful to know who's doing it in our region.
I think notification for anything that's listed as optional, I think notification, for now, let's just call it notification.
So even things that we haven't required in the past.
Correct. We'll just
I would-
leave it.
Mike, I would just suggest those three things only, right? I don't think any of the other optionals we need, unless you do.
I mean, things like ketorolac is still actually an optional medication, right? So, or IV acetaminophen, do we care about those things? I would say probably not.
I don't. Yeah, I think let's defer the other things. I think the three high risk or potentially you know, evidence / recommendation yet unclear things like IV antibiotics for open fractures if we want to go to.
So,
Let's make those three things required notification to the REMAC.
and maybe the other one was on there before and didn't have anybody doing it, I don't think, but maybe we should add, would be nitrous oxide.
Yeah. Because if I have musculoskeletal injury, I want to make sure I call that agency.
Right.
Sorry.
Very good. So then I'll make those changes to the memo. And then
Very good.
with the updates. Also in that, where it lists the protocol updates and the change log in that, there's also links to education. There's a couple videos from Dr. Cushman and the Milrems. One's a BLS, just update of new protocols. It's about 20 minutes long and well done. The ALS one is about 40 minutes. So very user friendly. Things are not required, but would be encouraged just because they're helpful. And there's also some links to the MOLST training and the new hospice protocol. There's some education on that. Will be in that memo. So,
Is, I can't remember off the top of my head, I don't have a copy in front of me. Is push dose epinephrine optional or is it just in the protocol?
Want to say push dose made it into the protocols.
I believe it says. It's.
Yeah, if it says equipped and trained, I think I would add that to notifications. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't. We can figure that out.
Yeah, you can move on and I will.
Yeah,
I'll
very good.
check.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Borton, I don't know if you're on the phone. Okay, I heard from Dr. Tanaka that there are no QI issues to report.
I'm here, sorry.
I'm here,
Oh,
Mike.
all right.
Yes,
Is this
we
QI
have no,
live or
no
is it-
QI. issues.
Okay, thank you both.
Yep.
All right, ad hoc interfacility transport committee, is Todd here? Or on the phone?
Todd's on.
All right. We're back at the IFT protocols. Where did we leave off last time?
Well, really a comment period. And I believe, Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, there has only been a handful of comments. They've been published and attached to the meeting documents. I certainly don't have any problems with the suggestions. Thank you, Beth. So it's really now, I believe, in the REMAC's court to approve these for dissemination with the suggested changes.
That's correct. We only got comments from Beth, so.
Slackers.
All right.
So with that, any discussion amongst the REMAC? Hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion to accept these IFT protocols.
There is a motion on the table to accept the current draft with updates of the interfacility transport protocols. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Clemency. All in favor of adopting region-wide effective, let's call it July 1st for rounding up purposes, the REMAC interfacility transport protocols that were disseminated in the email yesterday. Any opposition? Hearing none, I will accept these as unanimous consent. And the interfacility transport protocols are adopted and will be posted, Alicia, when you get a chance, to the REMAC website and disseminated, Karen, at your next opportunity to everyone that will listen, or maybe Rob, maybe just a blast email. Yep. Would be great. Thank you. And Todd and everyone on the IFT committee and subcommittee, thank you very, very much for this. It is a burden of love and hate at the same time, no doubt. And it has been a long time coming. So you have my thanks, and on behalf of the entire committee, thank you very much for doing this. And we look forward to re-engaging you in 2 years when something changes and we have to do it all over. He says tongue in cheek. As their work is complete, I will now dissolve the ad hoc interfacility transport committee with our thanks and remove that from the agenda next time. But again, thank you very, very much. This was no small feat and you all appreciate it. Old business is bylaws review and the med director course reporting. The reporting is done. It will be up before July 1st. I'm looking at Emily specifically. This is her 3-year project trying to get me to finish this. The only reason it isn't up now is because I decided to do something with the collaborative update. But it'll be up before July 1st. Well, yeah, by July 1st. But coming soon. Any other old business? Excellent. That brings us to a couple chunks of new business. First, Dr. Munter reports that Bertrand Chafee has met the REMAC requirement now to record all med direction calls. Thank you for doing that and letting us know. There is going to be an RSI policy revision coming up soon. At the moment, the policy is somewhat vague. We made some changes a number of years ago in terms of how many credential providers need to be on the scene. But I think it is prudent to have some regional oversight. And as such, some more regional guidance for agencies that are or are considering adding RSI to their ALS armament. So stand by for a draft policy, but there's nothing super imminent. Probably for something for discussion, maybe a vote, but discussion at the September meeting. I also am going to make a motion, since it is scattered on the agenda, but it's still listed on the sign-in sheet, to dissolve the standing committee, which requires a REMAC vote. Move to dissolve the standing pre-hospital advisory committee. We have not gotten a report from that committee, nor have we tasked that committee with anything since I have been the chair. I am now, I think, 6 years into a 2-year term. So it is with a 1-year break. Is there a second on a motion to dissolve the committee, Jody?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any opposition to dissolving the pre-hospital advisory committee? Okay, for whatever was done before I was the chair of that committee, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. I am going to now move to create a regional stroke care committee. We have some major stroke centers, comprehensive stroke centers, primary stroke centers in the region. And I think it would benefit us, it would benefit patients and our EMS agencies if we had collaboration between the major comprehensive stroke systems in the areas. That way we can make things better for everybody, regardless of where they go. I would suggest, as part of my motion, and I'll rephrase it as a real motion in a second, that Nicole Haynes from Kaleida Health and Emily James from Catholic Health co-chair this committee on behalf of the REMAC and provide reports every meeting. And we'll also provide recommendations that both systems agree on, so that way we can try to really, wherever you're going, whatever is in front of you, if it's a stroke and you're going to a comprehensive center, what is expected of you will not be different based on where you're going, and that all of the important information for the care of those patients is received by the hospital. My motion is to create a stroke care committee on behalf of the region and appoint Nicole Haynes from Kaleida Health and Emily James from Catholic Health to co-chair that committee. Those terms will be for 1 year and are renewable, based on the needs of the REMAC. The intention is the committee will be standing, so we will re-select chairs every year. Is there a second to my motion? I'll second. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Any opposition to creating a stroke care committee with the named co-chairs?
Comment?
Dr. Clemenson.
I support this. I would just ask that the first order of business be unifying a stroke scale.
Okay, so the Los Angeles pre-hospital stroke score then is the one that we want?
I don't care.
I don't care. I'm all about that. That can be a first task for the committee.
There's a comment in the chat, including the University of Rochester system. This is well, I don't know what the REMAC's thoughts on that are.
I'm not sure that we have a ton of people transporting to that system.
I think Wyoming County, like Genesee, Orleans,
Yeah,
that way.
in Wyoming transports to Rochester.
I don't have an opposition to it. All right, with the motion on the table, we have to vote on it as it is, unless we amend the motion. I guess it's my motion, so I can do that.
Maybe conference on there.
Yeah, why don't, for now, I'm gonna leave my motion as is, and we will consider engaging them and adding them as needed. I'm certainly not prohibiting or precluding that. But let's go with the motion as is with Kaleida Health and Catholic Health, and their second order of business after a stroke score can be, let's figure out what we can do to bring in our Rochester partner. So, there is a second. Any opposition? None. Hearing none, the motion carries. Congratulations to Emily and Nicole. Thank you for taking up the mantle on our stroke care in the region, and we look forward to hearing from you in September. All right, that brings us to our mass approvals and notifications of intent, starting with med director changes. Rescue hose from Dr. Tackett's to Dr. Beretta, West Falls Fire Company from Dr. Bark to Dr. Cosgrove, Highland hose from Billatier to Cosgrove, Farnham from Billatier to Dr. Tanaka, Lake Erie Beach from Dr. Billatier to Dr. Tanaka. Syringe epinephrine notification for Amity Rescue. Pad notification for Letchworth Soccer Club and Youngstown Yacht Club. Congrats to both of you. Way to go. BLS 12 lead approval for Springbrook Fire and Seneca EMS. And then we don't really need to approve this, but we were notified that Dr. Falk is being added as an alternate medical director to Ellicottville, Great Valley, Ishua, Knapp Creek, Portville, Randolph Regional EMS Corp, and the town of Carrollton Joint Fire Department. So thank you, Dr. Falk, for lending your expertise to those agencies. But to the ones that do require REMAC approval, I would love to entertain a motion to approve the remaining ones en masse.
This is Josette.
Yeah, it is.
I would propose that we approve on mass.
All right, Dr. Troy. Is there a second?
Also,
Thank you, Dr. Walters. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries and these changes are all approved. Any other new business before the REMAC? Hearing none, I thank you all for being here again. Thanks to Twin City for hosting us again. Thanks to our hospital partners for being here, Beth and everyone, and Emily and everyone else who comes from the hospital systems. Thanks to all the docs, and I would love someone to move to adjourn. Dr. Shaw, I'll second this one. We are adjourned. We'll stand by for a meeting in September and enjoy a lovely summer. But we're technically adjourned and that sucks, but I'm gonna unadjourn us for a second because since the new bylaws have this in them and we haven't adopted those yet, formally, we need a motion to empower the REMAC chair to make important only REMAC decisions during the recess until the September meeting, all of which will be reviewable. If there's something that I really think needs the entire REMAC to vote on, I will call an emergency meeting for that, but that hasn't happened since I'm the chair either. That's not true, we did it with COVID once. But is there a motion to give me lots of power for 2.5 months that I don't really use?
This is Josette. So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Guinness, and I heard a second on the phone. Any opposition? Excellent. Hearing none, the motion carries, and I'll keep doing stuff for the summertime. I'm gonna go back to the previous motion, which was approved. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for being here and all of the work that you do.